everyone, I'm David Scranton, and thank you for clicking this video because today we're talking about all the different types of retirement accounts and how you can choose the right one for you. So let's bring in our guest, Brad Williams, president of Brad Williams Financial Services, a retirement income store located in Huntsville, Alabama. Brad, as usual, great to have you here.
It's great to be here, Dave. I appreciate you having me on your show.
So Brad, do you find that most people understand most of the investment options in their 401k?
Actually, Dave, no, I don't. A lot of them don't even realize what they have in it. They haven't touched it in a long time. If they're 55, 60, many of them are in the same investments they were when they were 35 and 40. They just never changed it. Or they fell into that ease of using the lifestyle or the target date fund. And when you ask them what's in it, they really don't know. And so one thing they're hoping to get from the meeting is a little more understanding of what they've been doing on their own. And that's pretty common.
You know, it's funny. I found that a lot of times back in the days when people couldn't change allocations every day, they can only change them once in a quarter, and you have a quarterly 401k meeting. I found that most of the time people would simply just find the funds that had the best performance in the last quarter, and they'd move all their money into those funds. But sometimes that means you're buying high, which obviously is the opposite of what you want to do, right?
Yeah, and there's been some studies. I remember hadn't looked at them in a while. That if you pick the top funds on Money Magazine for the previous year, most of the time they're not on the magazine that year. So everything changes.
Yeah, that's right. Things go through cycles for sure. Or my favorite one is they just, talk to their friend in the lunchroom and, hey, what are you invested in? Okay, I'm gonna invest in the same thing. So let's broaden it up just a little bit. In general, what types of questions you typically get, or maybe what types of sources of confusion do you see that people have about 401ks and maybe about IRAs in general?
Well, I think a lot of the confusion is what's the difference between a Roth and a traditional, and what does that mean to them? And the fact that a lot of people don't realize that that you can have other investments than mutual funds in an IRA. They think that's what they're stuck with, and because they've used that in their 401k. So a lot of enlightening I do with people when we first start working together is there is a universe of other options other than mutual funds.
Yeah, that's right. They're so used to mutual funds in the 401k, they think that's it. And once you get to the IRA world, it completely opens up. So are people generally trying to maximize the benefits they get from a 401k? So are they maximizing the matching that you see? Or are you finding, like I do, that a lot of people don't maximize that free money that they probably should be?
I do find that, although I'm seeing that less and less, what I'm seeing is they'll invest right up to the matching, whatever that may be for their particular company, but no more, because they don't realize they're getting a tax benefit in deferral for doing it. And so they're asking for other investment choices. And, when you point out to them that, hey, you could be getting a nice tax break, at least for now, by putting more in your 401k. I think one of the big things is I deal with federal employees a lot and introducing them to the Roth option, and more 401ks are having a Roth option. And when they get close to retirement, shifting some or all of that contribution to that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it very well can. And, it's interesting because you're right. If you're in, let's say, a 33% top tax bracket between state and federal, essentially you're getting a 50 cent on a dollar match up by the IRS, because putting a dollar in the plan means your take-home pay only gets reduced by 67 cents, but yet the full dollar is going in the plan, and that's a 50% match. So what are some of the excuses that you hear from people, Brad, as to why they don't maximize, whether they don't maximize the match, or maybe they don't maximize the pre-tax ability to contribute?
They don't realize that the impact of their take-home pay is not as great as they think it is. And when you point that out to them, that even though they're going to be investing $1, they're really only going to see a certain percent decrease in their take-home pay because they're not having taxes taken out.
It's funny because
that's
I was going to say it's funny, Brad, because some people think they just can't afford to do it. But the funny thing is, when it gets taken out of your paycheck, for most people, you could take out more, and your take-home pay is going to get reduced, but you're going to make do, because it's the old adage, save first for your future, and then you spend the rest with a clear conscience. But why do you find that maybe this generation doesn't do that as aggressively as maybe, our generation?
I think a lot of it is education from the parents. They weren't taught to pay themselves first, and that's important. And so educating them on that and encouraging them to educate their children in the same manner.
Now, switching gears for a second, it's interesting because when markets were going up, they hit the low March or April of 2020, when the pandemic first came out, and then they recovered by August, and they were going up right through the end of last year. People are pretty calm about things, but you find that people are more concerned about their 401ks and IRAs and the like now, given that the markets have been a little bit more volatile?
What's interesting is I think I'm sensing more concern now than after the big drop in the pandemic. The big drop in the pandemic, they could point their finger to this unprecedented event that happened. And so everyone else was experiencing it. And now, as they're seeing inflation kick in and fuel prices and grocery prices and uncertainty overseas and a very volatile stock market, they're starting to look inwardly to themselves and not what all the buddies at work are talking about. And they're starting to focus on, okay, what does this mean to me? And I'm not sure what to do about it.
Yeah. And one of the solutions for that, as you know, is making sure that you make that transition from more of a total return thinking or growth thinking to more of an income-based thinking, focusing on interest and dividends within 10 years or so of retirement. So what do people need to know about converting to more of an income strategy with their 401ks and IRAs as they're starting to get ready to do this?
Well, I think going back to one of the original questions you asked me about 401ks is that if they're over 59 and a half, if they've got 401k sitting in a previous employer plan, that now's the time to look at the options outside of those old mutual funds that they've been stuck with to invest in a individual portfolio of income producing securities and what that can do for them.
Yeah. And, simply, it's real simple, right? If you're retired or you're over a certain age limit, like you said, and can take in-service rollovers, you can move it to an IRA and you can invest in just about anything. Because
that's right. And a lot of people don't realize they can do that.
Yeah, because most 401ks, like we talked about earlier, you're right, they don't have income generating options. They have primarily growth options because, they want to attract, 401ks are there to attract and retain young people, right? And, they're not hiring 60-year-olds, generally speaking. They're hiring younger folks who want more growth-oriented options. So I think they purposely make it attractive for them. So.
Yeah, and just like some of the benefits they have, like group life insurance, that's really tailored towards the younger employees. Well, many of the choices in their 401k fall into the same camp. Is they're really in the G, they're for growth. They're really not for income, and that's where they need to be focusing.
Very true. Very true. Brad, great words of wisdom as usual. Great having you here. Thank you. Brad Williams from Huntsville, Alabama.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you for watching today's video, Understanding Your Retirement Account Options. If you enjoyed it, please give us a thumbs up button to give us a like, and make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel for new content each and every week.